Alrighty, everyone. Welcome to the virtual college exploration for all North Carolina and South Carolina students. We're sponsored by the Carolinas Association of the Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers and StriveScan. I want to thank you for joining us today. My name is Brittany. I'm your facilitator. I'm going to go over a few housekeeping rules before we get started. So you can your Q&A button on your screen to type any questions that you may have while the presenters are presenting. Your camera and your microphone are off, so panelists will not be able to see you or hear you during the presentation. This is just one of the many sessions that are happening today, so you can check out more of them on CACRAO.org. And also, if you missed something or you want to go look back at something later on during the week, you can at the same website, CACRAO.org. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our presenters.
Okay, thank you everyone for being here. My name is Beth Watts. I am the Associate Director for Online and Transfer Advising at Appalachian State, and we are coming to you from the mountains of North Carolina, and this is my husband.
Hello, I'm Skip Watts. I'm the 828 East Regional Rep for CFNC.org, and I'm excited to be here to talk to North Carolina and South Carolina students.
And we've got our other co-presenter with us, John, and he's coming to us from Pitt Community College. John?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time this afternoon. My name is John Career, and I'm the Director for the Office of Recruitment at PCC. It is sunny and 75 here in Eastern North Carolina, and we are definitely excited to be meeting with you this afternoon to share some information about your college and career exploration.
Definitely, definitely. So today we are here to talk to you about matching your interests to your career. So one thing that we really want to stress is that as you are choosing a career, that you enjoy it. You want to be able to get up every morning and go to work and enjoy your job. So we kind of hope that we're able to give you some tools and resources that will help you make that choice so that you enjoy going to work every day, just like we do. All right, so the first thing that you got to have is kind of understand what that process looks like. So whenever you're thinking about matching interests to careers, you kind of got to know a little bit about yourself. You've got to know who you are, what you enjoy doing, and what are your strengths and your skills. This is very important because if you know that you enjoy building a house, then you definitely don't want to go into something that's going to be more like an office job. So then whenever you kind of know who you are, then you can start exploring those careers that would interest you. You can kind of think about, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Do you want to stay in your hometown, or do you want to explore somewhere else? I know a lot of my students, they want to go into apparel design and merchandising, and so that's New York City or that's LA. So they think a lot about where they want to go and where they want to live and what opportunities there are to explore. And then they have to develop a plan, and that's very important because you got to have a plan so you know what steps you got to take to get to where you're going to go. How are you going to get there? What education do you need? What training do you need? And who can help you? It's very important that you reach out for help because we are here to assist you. There's people all across the state and country who are here to assist you make your plan. And then you have to think about, what does success look like for you? How will you know that you've been successful and that your plan has worked out? So whenever you think about it, it's kind of a 4-step process, but it has a lot of underlying steps to that. And Skip's going to talk about one of the very first steps that we've talked about right now is getting to know yourself.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Skip Watts. I work for CFNC, and CFNC for South Carolina students, it's an organization or an information partnership made up of a bunch of different groups across the state of North Carolina. I do want to reinforce that all the tools that I'm about to mention on CFNC are available to South Carolina students, so I encourage you to take advantage. And of course, North Carolina students, you're readily aware of all the tools on CFNC. Please continue to use our resources as we're firmly in college application month, or excuse me, countdown to college, and college application week's coming up soon. So today, let's talk a little bit about the assessments that are available for free through CFNC. It starts with maybe the most intensive of all those. That's the Do What You Are assessment on the left-hand side of the slide. That one, in a sense, mimics the Myers-Briggs in a way. It offers similar typologies. It also offers in-depth career assessments that kind of direct students specifically towards career pathways that they may enjoy. It's one of, again, our more time-intensive assessments, but I definitely enjoy it if you're willing to invest 25 or 35 minutes. It's really helpful, especially for students that don't know exactly where they want to go to college or what they want to study. The learning style inventory it's a little bit different. It helps students to understand what their learning style is and where they can be most successful, whether that be studying in their bedroom with music on or studying in the library in complete silence. It's designed to provide insight to both high school and college students so that they can be successful in and outside of the classroom. The basic skills survey on CFNC is directed towards a different population. It's directed towards students that are trying to see what their current skill level is and how that relates to job possibilities across the state and across the nation. The career key is a little bit different. It's designed to be really quick. It's a quick assessment. It's designed to help students find different career clusters they may work within. Students' career clusters could be anything from hospitality and tourism, which would be jobs revolving around tourism or hotel management, to education. There's all kinds of different career clusters, and it's helpful sometimes for students to identify those clusters. The transferable skills checklist is designed for older populations. Oftentimes those populations that are transferring from one job to another can benefit from the transferable skills checklist because it helps families, students, and adults identify how their current skills and career pathway can relate to a new job if they're thinking about transferring to another possibility. The career cluster survey is one of my favorites. It's not my favorite assessment on CFNC, but it's a great one. It takes about 15 or 20 minutes. Sometimes it can take a little longer. It again bounces students to career clusters where they can find a plethora of different jobs that are related back to their assessment results. The interest profiler is probably my favorite assessment on CFNC. It's short and quick, but it's designed to help students identify Holland codes, which are kind of like strong points in a student's personality. And if a student relates those Holland codes to jobs, there's a high likelihood they're going to be happy and potentially successful in that career track. The work value sorter, well, that just helps students or family members understand what values they have in the workplace. In other words, whether or not they want to be in a factory situation or a classroom or a hotel environment or a hospital. It's just designed to help, again, students identify the perfect job. And we want to reinforce these opportunities are free, and we encourage students to use them because it's a much better idea, students, to identify possible careers before you get to college. I say that because I'm a person that didn't transfer, but I changed my major several times. And as a result, it elongated my college career by a semester. It took me 4.5 years to graduate from college, and that cost me more money. I want students to expedite their college experience and get out quickly, go in with a purpose, hopefully find a college that offers that potential major, and then again, get out as quickly as possible. Now, before I change slides, I also want to mention that CFNC is partnering in the future with North Carolina Careers, or nccareers.org. It's a nonprofit out of Raleigh that we're going to partner with to offer some additional resources that students can use to help find possible career opportunities. One really awesome assessment that we have on CFNC, but we also have on NC Careers, is the reality check. And students, if you haven't checked out that, it's just an assessment that helps you identify a career, and then it helps you to identify what kind of costs and responsibilities are going to go along with that. In other words, it helps you just to experience the real world a little bit through that career that you want to take part in. So again, we're going to be changing our offerings in the future. We're going to offer some new stuff as well. So I really hope that students take advantage of these. So again, they can expedite their college experience by finding that major before they enroll. Now, on top of the information on CFNC that I alluded to in the previous slide, I want to mention that when a student finds a job that they like, in this instance, I have an architectural and an engineering manager and a licensed nurse, or an LPN. You can see that CFNC tries to give students an accurate picture of the total U.S. employment so they can get an idea of how many of those jobs are available across the country, how many of those jobs are available in North Carolina. Unfortunately, we don't have specific South Carolina information, but we also offer information from a rural perspective and an urban perspective. We also offer typical wage information. You can see the typical wage for the engineering manager is considerably higher than that of the licensed nurse. But we also detail how much education is required to get into one of these career tracks. For example, if you want to be an agricultural or an engineering manager, you can see down there the biggest piece of the pie are individuals that have master's degrees. So those are individuals that have persisted past their associates, their bachelor's degree, and then went on to get a graduate level degree. You can also see that the vast majority of people in those positions have bachelor's degrees. So students, if you want to go into a managing position, maybe work on in a farm environment or maybe in an engineering environment, you're going to have to at least participate in a bachelor's degree program. So it's helpful to figure that out before we start to do some college research if we haven't already. Now, the licensed practical nurse has a different educational track. You can get into that track oftentimes with just a secondary certificate, maybe an associate's degree, but the pay is a little bit lower. So it's designed essentially, this product rather is designed essentially to help students filter through jobs that they may enjoy, to get all the relevant information, and then to make the most pertinent decision about their future as soon as possible. Thank you everybody for your time. I'm going to turn it over quick to John.
All right, thank you, Skip. So I think the underlying theme that we're trying to convey to you today is that making the connection to your interests and how those interests can connect to a potential career pathway. Now, standing in between your interests and your career pathway is your educational decision. Where do you go in order to receive the training and expertise in order to gain entry into that desired career pathway? So that can take place a number of different ways. Beth and Skip, by the way, you're still unmuted. Just wanted to give you a heads up. There are a couple of different ways that you can accomplish that. And as you saw on the previous slide, there are a couple of different avenues when it comes to what sort of training you would need, whether you need an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, or a master's degree in order to enter your field of study. A lot of students really don't make the connection between what their career is going to be and the institution that they would need to enter in order to get that education. Many of the students, and I think probably Beth and Skip can probably back me up, is that when we speak to students and they say that they want to enter a career field, sometimes we get the answer, well, you know, I want to do this, but I'm not sure who to go to in order to get this experience. So that interest profiler can be the first step in answering those kinds of questions about what kind of person you are and developing a kind of a sense of, well, how can I develop these hobbies, these personality traits, these skill sets into a career? So with my background and what I do at Pitt Community College in Eastern North Carolina is that we try to highlight these different pathways through what we call an articulation agreement. We have a special agreement through the UNC system of schools and the North Carolina Community College system that if students enroll at a 2-year institution, they can still have their credits transferred to a 4-year school. Now, this is only important in the event that you know that your education is going to require a 4-year experience. If your career pathway means that you have to get at least 4 years or more, you definitely have to enroll at a 4-year institution. However, the opportunity to enroll at a 4-year institution is not always prevalent. Sometimes making the decision on what your career takes a little bit longer than just coming straight out of high school and going to a 4-year school. So it can still be accomplished through a 2-year pathway. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll notice that we've got a couple of different degree options there. The Associate in Arts, Science, Engineering, and Fine Arts all equally relate to the bachelor's degree in liberal arts, in science, in engineering, and fine arts. We call that a 2+2 when we're talking about articulation agreements. You would do 2 years at a local community college, and then you would complete your bachelor's degree in 2 additional years at the 4-year institution of your choice. Skip talked a little bit about, you know, making the decision to enroll in college, which is always important. Continuing your secondary education past high school is critical if you're planning to get a job in today's market. However, of course, it does take a little bit of time to really figure out and settle on what that pathway is going to be. Not necessarily your educational pathway, but what that career pathway is going to be. So if you're not completely decided, you can still enroll at a 4-year institution, but you also have the option to enroll at a 2-year institution as well. That can really lead to some discovery and some exploration on the different kinds of degrees that are offered at 2-year institutions and how they relate to the 4-year experience. You'll notice that the last degree on the left-hand side is called an Associate in Applied Science. This is a degree program that can transfer to a four-year institution, but it does not necessarily fit the transfer pathways that are already designed through the UNC system of schools. The Associate in Applied Science, think of that as a specialized degree that's designed to take you straight to work after you've completed that degree, that certificate, or that diploma. In most cases, students can take that in about 2 years' time. And if you remember those graphs on the previous slide, you'll notice that there are very few pathways that really allow students to really just get a short 2-year pathway and basically start making 6 figures straight out the door. You're talking about entry-level education, things that will get you started directly into a career pathway that you might be interested in. So that includes everything from construction and industrial sciences to health sciences, even public service if you wanted to become a law enforcement officer or become a paralegal. Lots of different pathways to choose from. But the important thing to remember is that if you do decide on the pathway for an associate in applied science, the four-year institution will only take selected courses out of that degree pathway. So imagine if you've bought, the analogy I like to kind of help illustrate this, is that imagine that you're buying a bag of M&Ms and relate that bag of M&Ms to your associate degree. When you complete that associate's degree, you have a full bag of M&Ms. Everybody wants that full bag of M&Ms. And you can present that bag of M&Ms to an employer, and they'll say that, well, we can see that you have the experience we are looking for. Here's a job offer. But if you take that same bag of M&Ms and you show that to a four-year institution, they're going to say, we love M&Ms too, but we're only going to give you credit for these red M&Ms. The rest of those other M&Ms, the yellows, the blues, the greens, the browns, those are all experiences that make up your applied science degree and don't necessarily transfer to a four-year school. So again, relating that four-year experience to a two-year pathway, it's important that if you are undecided, that you can still enroll in a four-year school, but you have the option to take your pathway through a two-year educational experience as well. All right, so with that, we will go ahead. We're just rounding out 20 minutes right now. We'll get Beth and Skip back in here, and we'll go ahead and open up the floor for some Q&A. That is a very short, brief introduction to kind of get the discussion started. And Beth and Skip, I don't know if you guys saw, but we do have a question inside the Q&A, and I'll go ahead and read that for you guys, and we can address that. The question is, I'm currently a junior and want to major in history, but I'm undecided as to where a degree in history can take me. I don't rule out teaching, but I'd like to know my options. Working in a museum may be a possibility, but I'd like to talk to someone who actually works in a museum to better understand the connection between the degree and the work itself. I was thinking of contacting some people and maybe shadowing them at work once COVID is under control. Will CFNC.org help me with figuring out my options under a history degree?
Yes, absolutely. And first off, that question was written so well, excuse me. I appreciate that.
That's awesome, yes.
The student can definitely find out different colleges that will have history programs in North Carolina and nationally. They can also find out how that history degree can relate to a different job in the museum sector, for example. So that's a great question. Really well said. So thank you.
I also think that you should definitely call the museum, see if you can shadow someone. I think anytime that you can get that firsthand experience, that's always very, very valuable. One thing that I always stress to students is regardless of where you're going to be attending, whether it's a community college or or UNC or a four-year school, then make sure you're doing some sort of internship. Internships look great on a resume. They also give you that firsthand experience so that, again, you know what you're getting into and you're going to actually like what you do, because that's really important with the careers, that you want to like what you do. So yes, if you can find someone that you can shadow for a day or two, I totally encourage you to do so.
Yeah, I'll echo a lot of that. Not just the internships, but apprenticeships as well. It seems like it's growing increasingly challenging, not just during a pandemic, but getting learners to be able to engage outside of the classroom and finding opportunities for you to be able to actually interact with the working world. So yes, I would definitely encourage you that if you have a local museum or maybe you have an educator that you can maybe call on, have an interview with them. call them up for a Zoom meeting, or maybe just go and have a cup of coffee and just kind of pick their brain about their experience and what kind of pathway they took in order to land their job in their given profession. I think working in a museum would be outstanding, especially if your head and your heart are in the history realm. Being a teacher is always a good pathway to consider as well. And a number of institutions in North Carolina do offer bachelor's degrees in history as well as education.
Great question. What else do we have?
All right, so the next question just popped in, actually. It says, I enjoy baking and pastry art, but I'm not sure how to go about it, and would enjoy opening my own bakery. What would be my first step?
I would first recommend that the student consider taking some business administration courses, as well as some culinary courses. In my experience, AB Tech, the Asheville Buncombe Technical Community College, has a wonderful culinary program and also offers business administration, just as one example of a community college in North Carolina. I'm sure there's a multitude of other programs. There's also four-year programs like Johnson & Wales that can help a student both prepare to be a business owner and prepare to be a chef or a pastry person.
Absolutely. And I think it's also important to know that, you can also go into something like nutrition. If you wanted to, there's always different paths to get where you want to go. So I think it's good that you are looking at various options, whether that be a 2-year degree. Like Skip said, a lot of the community colleges have awesome 2-year programs that also include business courses too. So definitely look at all of your options whenever you're considering which way you're going to go.
I would say that a strong business sense is definitely going to get you probably the best way started. I think that the skill of actually becoming a culinary artist takes years to cultivate and to actually, become good at it. And I think that, in owning your own business, especially, that's going to give you flexibility. So it's not just regulated to becoming a culinary artist. You really need to have a hospitality mentality behind that as well. So find institutions. There are quite a few, I think, in North Carolina that have business programs as well as hospitality management available.
Yeah, great question.
So, next question. Yes. Generally speaking, what states had the most opportunities for graphic designers or technology integrated art?
I couldn't tell you that for sure, John, or Maria, excuse me. It's hard to say. What I would recommend, though, is that the student consider staying in state, in their home state, if they're considering a public institution. For example, as a North Carolina resident, I would benefit monetarily by staying in the state of North Carolina if I wanted to attend Appalachian State University or North Carolina State University or UNC Chapel Hill. The same would be true for a South Carolina student. Now, I say that if you're looking at a private school, a school that doesn't receive state funding, oftentimes you're not going to incur a higher tuition rate by crossing state borders. But the first thing I would recommend is, again, students consider researching what graphic arts programs are prevalent in their state.
I think that's a good point for sure. I mean, because it is going to be much lower tuition depending on if you're going to go to a public institution. There's also some great private institutions that have some really good programs. And the good thing about private institutions is that they also offer quite a bit in financial aid. They offer a lot of scholarships. So keep in mind those schools also.
Yeah, and if you want to use CFNC to start your research, Maria, just go to the college search feature and then drop down and simply type in what you want to study. You can pick from career clusters or actually type in graphic design, and that'll help you identify both 2-year programs that'll offer you transferable associate's degrees and also 4-year programs that will offer bachelor's degrees in the state of North Carolina and nationally.
And I think most institutions, when you're talking about any kind of art program, a lot of them rely on a portfolio, building a really strong portfolio so that when you start applying for jobs later on down the road, that you'll have something to stand on, something to build your resume with. So I would encourage you, I think, again, graphic design along with business, you can find that at most institutions. Find places that highlight where their students graduate from and apply, or not just graduate from, but where they end up getting jobs. Where do they end up finding work? Is it with Disney? Is it with local businesses? Is it with graphic design companies, internationally? Look at their portfolio, look at their alumni and figure out where they're getting jobs. And that's a good indication of the kind of quality program that they have there at their institution.
That's a great point, John. Great point.
Very good point.
So the next two questions, they're actually related. So I'll read both of them, and we can answer those together. The question is, I'm looking into majoring in international studies. What could this lead to? And then the second question is, I'm hoping to become an intelligence analyst for the federal government. I thought that an international studies major would be the best option. So we kind of had a question get answered with another question. Yeah.
Yeah, that was synchronicity there.
Yeah.
Jillian, international studies can lead you in a bunch of different directions. That could lead you into an English as a first or English as a second language immersion program. It could lead you into different business opportunities internationally. I'm probably not the best person to speak to about all the specific opportunities. Would you guys know more?
Well, with international studies, you're going to be able to do pretty much, I mean, the major itself is going to force you to get out and explore. Anytime you do an international studies major at Appalachian, we have one in our business department, there is required study abroad. So it's really going to help you get out there and explore. And I think as you do more exploration, you can see how many more doors can open for you. International studies could take you into a government agency. It could take you into something like as a museum curator. It could lead you in a variety of different directions. It's just kind of which direction do you want to push in that direction in. So Bella, it looks like, is hoping to become an intelligence analyst. So that's definitely an option for an international studies major. But Jillian, you might want to go in a different direction. It just kind of depends. And that's something that you would work with your academic advisor to further explore.
Bella might also be advised to consider a criminal justice pathway. So she may want to look into what exactly an intelligence analyst at the federal level looks like and what education is required for them to get that job. I'm sure that's available on a federal page somewhere.
I'd also add in, I think most students, when at least I speak to them, I'm asking about, any kind of international studies or study abroad, is that most of them are planning to go into some sort of a translation profession. They want to be an interpreter for, a foreign government or representing the United States on the international stage. So we'll give you the chance, of course, to kind of travel the world and speak with different people from different backgrounds. And you definitely have to have a personality, an outgoing personality to kind of suit that. International studies does lend itself to history as well. So I would say that probably more oftentimes than not, I would think that international studies, if it's not leading you in the federal government and representative and being a liaison pathway, that it becomes kind of almost like an educational, if you wanted to become a teacher sort of career path as well. Great questions.
Yes, and we have quite a few students that actually go into Samaritan's Purse. We have Samaritan's Purse up here in Boone. And so students that stay will go in and do something very much like that, as doing intelligence and stuff like that for nonprofit organizations. Do we have any other questions?
So we're open with the Q&A right now. It looks like.
Okay, we got a new one.
Got a new one, yep.
Coming from Kelsey. She's interested in psychology. Has been deeply considering being a marriage and family therapist. Know that Appalachian offers a master's program. Would I need an internship or have job shadowed?
Okay, so I can answer this one. My master's degree is in school counseling, which is under the same umbrella as the marriage and family program at Appalachian. So my undergrad was in sociology, and I did not have an internship or job shadow before I went into that program. Of course, I had worked with school counselors previously and whatnot, but you do have to do an internship as part of the program, as part of the major requirements. But it's always a good idea to, if you can, again, to get that shadowing, maybe not shadow a marriage and family counselor, but you might be able to talk with one to kind of see what their path was like. It is the program at Appalachian. It's obviously I graduated from it, so of course I'm going to say it's fabulous. But it's a program to definitely get more information on. And if you call the HPC department, then they'll definitely tell you more as to how the program works.
A tricky one from Parker.
You don't want to major in biology.
So Parker asked, I'd like to be a doctor, but I don't want to major in biology. Or something like that in case I change my mind. Could I major in something like biomedical engineering which I could use for a job if I decided not to be a doctor, but would that still get accepted into medical school? In my experience, Parker, you generally have to have a lot of biology and anatomy classes. That usually is what a pre-med major consists of. I'm not sure if biomedical engineering would be a degree that would matriculate easily in medical school, but I want to leave that to the other experts.
So my advice for that one would be, yes, you could go into something like biomedical engineering, but you would want to make sure that you're getting those prerequisite courses like Skip was mentioning, because yes, a lot of pre-professional programs like going in to get your medical degree are going to require anatomy and physiology, biology, chemistry. So a lot of majors have built-in electives. And so you can get quite a few of those courses if you're working with your advisor and making sure that you've got a plan. And looking at that, I always tell students you might want to narrow down where you plan to apply after you finish your undergrad so that you can kind of have an idea of what some of those classes need to be and you're not having to go back after the fact and take classes so that you can apply.
Great point.
Yeah, I'd also add that, you know, having a strong biology background is important if you plan to go into medical sciences, but chemistry is also important too. So being sound in both biology and chemistry can give you a lot of flexibility as far as professions later on down the road. Biomedical engineering, of course, strong mathematics background. I mean, that's definitely something that you have to be really strong at if you plan to go into that particular field. But I do want to, you know, sing a little bit of PCC's praises on this one, just because the field of biotechnology is exploding right now. With the amount of drug testing, everyone is kind of, there's a race to find a cure, to find a vaccine for the COVID-19. So one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in North America, Maine Pharma, is actually right in our own backyard. So they actually end up providing 8 scholarship opportunities to PCC students who plan to go into biotechnology. It's a 2-year pathway, it's a full ride scholarship, and there's a guaranteed internship and interview process at the end of their education. So it's almost a guarantee of a job once you complete the training at PCC. It's on the fast track to being a professional in that area. So I would highly encourage you to check that out. Becoming a doctor is also a possibility. Just completing the prerequisite courses at PCC or your local community college can be very beneficial and also helpful in giving you some additional time to discover the flexibility on what kinds of professional pathways that you maybe want to pursue.
That's a great point. Do you have any articulation agreements with any of the UNC schools for that degree?
Not particularly for biotechnology, because biotechnology is kind of, I guess, is very specific in what you are gaining experience in. The 4-year institutions will give you credit for the vast majority of what you would be completing, but the biotechnology specific classes, probably about a semester and a half of class credits, likely would not transfer to a 4-year school.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, well, we've got another one.
Okay.
I'm struggling to choose a major.
Involved in student government, likes planning events and serving students. Looking into a business degree, but not sure which one. Oh, it changed on me.
Sorry, I was cleaning out the other Q&As. I'm sorry about that.
But
not sure which one I'd like most. Do you have any advice or tips? I mean, first and foremost, if you haven't taken any of those assessments or spent any time with a career assessment, that's a good way to kind of filter down and figure out which one of these jobs or career paths is best for you. What do you guys say?
I mean, I think that's a great place to start. I mean, since you kind of already have an idea, you know, again, if you enjoy doing event planning, that might be like a hospitality and tourism degree, which is a business degree, or you might maybe talk to somebody who does that. Again, I think the more information that you can get, it would be great. So if you can find an event planner in your area and maybe do some of that job shadowing, that would be a really great option, and kind of talk to them about how they got into that whole event planning world and how they made their name. And because, you know, as you do that, you're kind of an independent contractor working for yourself. And so you kind of got to work through all that also. So I would talk to somebody and see. Again, I think looking at the interest inventories is a good option too, but I think the best place to start is with somebody who's doing it.
Yeah, I want to echo a lot of that, not just in the business realm, but also if you were considering maybe a political career later on down the road. Just recalling some of the past student government members from previous years at previous institutions, I can recall that a lot of them actually had a budding political science background and ended up going into either politics or law, something along those lines. As a student government representative, you are the voice of the student government, of the student body. So you are taking those concerns, those issues, and taking them up to the administration. So essentially, you are almost like a senator or a governor over the student body. And when you learn the ins and outs of that experience, you'll either learn that you hate it and you don't want to do that anymore, or maybe you want to potentially pursue it a little bit further. In most cases at four-year institutions and two-year institutions, if you are the student government president, you do sit on what is called the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees is responsible for setting the guidelines and expectations for the entire institution. The president or the chancellor of those institutions answer to that Board of Trustees, and ipso facto, they are answering to you as a student, which is really kind of neat. So take that into consideration if you're looking to run for office at your local institution whenever you do decide to enroll.
It's a really good option, really good point. And getting involved. So wherever you're going to go, make sure that you're getting involved in student government or clubs and organizations. I think that's a big thing of the college experience, both on a two-year campus and a four-year campus, is making sure that you're getting that involvement, because that helps build your resume also.
Yeah, it helps you network.
And that's a big part of it. Okay, we've got one more student.
And this one's right up your alley. It's a
student. Oh yeah, this is mine, yeah.
There you go. So
right,
pursuing an associate in science.
Yeah, so they haven't decided on what they wanted to do and kind of wanted to know what their options are. Associates in science degrees typically lend themselves to students that plan to pursue either biology or chemistry at the four-year level. The associates in science is biology and chemistry heavy when you're talking about the elective hours, as well as the general education credits that you'll earn within that particular associate's degree. Now, when you're considering a two-year pathway, if it's going to be an associate in arts, that's a liberal arts degree, meaning that there's a lot more flexibility if you're going into something like international studies that we were just talking about, or you want to go into communication or business. Those are the kinds of degree programs that typically those associate's degrees lend themselves to. The associate in science is very tailored in the sense that you already have a pathway that you are considering that is going to require some sort of scientific background. So it's right there in the title, the associate in science. That's kind of the best way to kind of look at that. Now, if you want a little bit more flexibility, you can maybe potentially pursue doing one or both. We do allow the option for students to double major. However, most of our advisors are going to try to encourage you to try to settle one or the other before you end up getting both degrees.
Yeah, very good point. You explained that very well.
Thank you.
Very, very good. So yes. All right, any other questions? See any coming through?
Right. Don't panic, I'm clearing those out for us, so we're good.
Thanks, John.
Yes.
So Skip, since we're kind of at a lull right now, do you want to throw a shameless plug in for College Application Week coming up soon?
Yeah, College Application Week is the last 2 weeks of October. We've kind of changed our methodology a little bit with College Application Week because of COVID. We're actually going to host 2 weeks of College Application Week. It'll be the 19th through the 30th. So students in North Carolina can apply to many of our private schools and some of our public schools for free. There's no application fee if you apply through CFNC during those 2 weeks. I also want to shamelessly plug the Countdown to College Month, which is October in North Carolina. And we're celebrating a bunch of different activities that we want students to engage in with their family. That starts with the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. I want to encourage all families in attendance to consider getting that FAFSA completed as soon as possible, because financial aid is first come, first serve. And students, if you're not aware, financial aid is grants and scholarships first and foremost, possibly student loans and work study. So let's try to get that FAFSA done if we're in North Carolina or South Carolina. The earlier the better. In North Carolina, we're also hoping students will complete the Residency Determination Service, or RDS, either this week or potentially next week. The earlier we can get RDS done as a North Carolina resident, the earlier we can start doing North Carolina specific college applications, which require the RCN, or the residency certification number, the students receive when they complete that process. So again, just to reiterate, we're hoping that students right now are completing that FAFSA or getting started with it. We're hoping they're completing RDS if they're North Carolina students. We hope they've also done some really intensive college research and they've identified colleges they want to apply to. And then once they've done that in North Carolina, if you choose, you can apply that third and fourth week of October, the 19th through the 30th, and get free college applications to many of our schools across the state. In fact, I just heard that Western Carolina University is going to offer a free application, which is huge. That's a really big institution in North Carolina.
That is huge. Looks like one more student came through while you were talking. And so there's a career where an accountant can work in the music industry. I mean, I would think so. I mean, if I was a big rock star, I would want an accountant managing my money, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe even for a record company. I think that accounting degree it offers a lot of flexibility in where you want to live and how you want to work within that career field. You could also be a private business owner and own your own accounting firm. There's a bunch of different directions you can take a bachelor's in accounting.
Yeah, that flexibility for a degree like that can pretty much take you anywhere and everywhere, and you're almost guaranteed to find some sort of work. I don't think anybody would say that they don't need help with managing their finances. So becoming a professional accountant is definitely going to be a career field that you are going to be able to take pretty much anywhere and everywhere, no matter what industry you plan to go into.
And I would think that oftentimes those accountants are working for a bigger multinational accounting group. And I don't know that you can necessarily get directly in with a production company or a record company. You might have to work your way up towards that. But that degree is going to be kind of the diving board to start that.
It's going to be really important too that you figure out your internship. So whatever internship you do as part of your degree can really help you pave that way. So whenever you're talking to your career development counselor or maybe whoever you're going to talk to about your internship, make sure that you're telling them that that's the path that you want to go, because they may be able to help you locate someone that you can help you get your foot right in the door. So that internship is going to be huge.
That's one theme that you'll hear us talking a lot about today is networking. It's really helpful if you can start networking and opening up different opportunities within that career path. And networking is simply touching base with different professionals that exist within that profession and getting to know them and starting conversations and then having them as potential contacts in the future.
Yeah, resume building, it's huge.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions we can help with today?
These are
So
great.
we have about 3 minutes. Yeah. So if there are any questions lingering out there, now's the time.
If there aren't any additional questions, I want to definitely thank everybody for attending. It seems like if you are participating in this, you probably have some questions about what career path you want to follow. And I don't think that's abnormal. 17, 18, 19-year-old people, we have our whole life ahead of us. When I was at that age, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I really liked riding my skateboard. Somehow I fell into this career path. Things change and times change, but I think that it's best in today's economy to think proactively about our career and then the steps we need to take to get to that career. So I want to encourage students to utilize all the tools and all the resources that we've mentioned today. Please don't pay for this information. Try to find it, for free, maybe through CFNC or through an organization in South Carolina. But again, don't pay for this information. Try to keep it free. Try to think introspectively about, if I had to wake up and go to work every morning, what would I enjoy doing? Because oftentimes students, when you're older like me and you got gray hair in your beard, you end up spending more time at work than you do with your family. So try to find something you enjoy. If you find a job you enjoy, it'll definitely help other aspects of your life.
Okay. Got one more quick question. I think we might have time. Should I take the hospitality first and then take that culinary class the other way around, in your opinion?
I think you can take them at the same time.
Yeah, you can do it together if you want to.
Yeah, great.
Hospitality handles the business end. Culinary handles the food end. Yeah.
Yeah, great question.
All right. Well, again, thank you guys for having us. I think we're down to the end of our time. Brittany, is that correct? And I think so, yes. So thank you so much. And John, thank you for being here with us. And it was kind of exciting to get to know you and do this across the state. So thank you.
I've enjoyed it. This has been great. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Good luck, everybody.
Alrighty, so we want to thank you guys for joining us today. When you close this window, there will be a link for you to answer 4 questions to basically give us some feedback and take a short survey. Just like I said before in the beginning, make sure that you do check out all the other sessions on CACRAO.org. And then if you don't see anything as far as this, if you would like to check out anything for next week, you can look at it on CACRAO.org. We want to thank you and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.